Now, the chief of Upper Disco, Nana Himadechi the 14th, says he will turn himself in to the Western Region Police hours after the command began a search for him. The Upper Disco chief is accused of allegedly kidnapping and attacking the chief of Lower Disco, Nana Kwesi Agyeman, and 4 of his subjects. According to Western Region Police Public Relations Officer DSP Olivia Irabna Ediku, the 5 were locked up in a room on the 2nd floor of Nana Himadechi's palace. It took the intervention of the Agunam Kwanta police to rescue Nana Kwesi Agyeman and his subjects. But speaking to Joy News a couple of hours ago, Chief of Upper District Nana Himadechi says the allegations saying, responded to allegations saying he would turn himself into the police.
I'm not on a run. No, I've committed no crime to be on a run. I'm a very law-abiding citizen. As I speak to you now, I'm putting myself together to get to the Regional Police Command. I've called the Regional Police Command. This is what I've heard in the news, and I think it's not too pleasant. It's a very bad reporter, and it's preposterous and execrable. And I see no reason they need to tarnish my image. The truth of the matter is, ever since I was restored, it's about 4 years now, and there have been several attacks on myself and my subject, and all these information have already been reported to the police, but we seem not to find solution to this end. People have been brutalized, people have been kidnapped, people have been murdered. A lot of series of it that we have been attacked, assaulted, and day in, day out, almost every single day, dynamite are being fired at us. Dangerous weapons are being used to chase us from our own land. We reported the matter to the police, but I state on authority that I have evidence that I said that the security system in our Hunter West, in the Western region for that matter, is compromised. And I am telling you, I have evidence that the police are in bed with criminals. The issue is that I've always been trying to just calm my people down, not to respond to, amidst the provocation, they should never react to whatever that comes from the lower disco head. They should never respond. But yesterday, in fact, I spoke to them in the afternoon. When around 1 p.m., I got a call that one of my communities, that there's already existing chief there. And that is the place, the president of the nation is supposed to catch sword for a landing beach at Disco, of which that area that the landing beach got constructed falls under my, which is the Trom area, of which there's already an existing chief. So we are preparing to even welcome the president on Wednesday for him to cut the sword. Only for us to hear yesterday, as in the afternoon, that Nana Kwesi Agyeman, that's the paramount of law Disco, had installed a chief of that same area, that there's an existing chief or there's a substantive chief. When I got to hear of the news that the program was ongoing, I called the police and I couldn't get through. So I sent one of my MPs to go to the police station and report the matter, of which they did. They reported to the police. There was no reaction. I had to call the MC to inform her that this is what I've heard. And I'm begging, the president is coming. It will be very bad when someone, because it was not just that they were doing installation, but they had brought macho men in the community, and they were brutalizing and torturing people. And they were firing dynamite at my people.
Now, Public Relations Officer of the Western Region Police Command, DSP Olivia Irabna Ediku, told Joy News the suspect has not gotten in contact with the command yet. She emphasized he is still being searched for.
The police had a distress call that Nana Kwesi Agyeman the 9th, who is the paramount chief of the Lower Disco area, has been attacked by some unknown men. Police went there, and through some investigations, they were informed that the people were sent by Nana Himadechi the 16th, who is the paramount chief of Upper Disco. So police called for reinforcement. They went to the palace. But when they got to the palace, there was nobody there. But they found a room locked in one of the rooms in the palace. And when police forced the door open, they found Nana Kwesi Agyeman and 4 of his chiefs who had been assaulted, and they sent them to hospital. As I speak to you, police are still searching for Nana Himadechi. So I've been in contact with the district commander, I've been in contact with the command. And as I am speaking to you, they are still looking for him. So if indeed he has contacted the command, then he needs to report himself to the police. I know once police is investigating all these issues, if indeed are true, are going to surface. But I don't have knowledge about the reports that made to police, and he is alleging that police didn't do anything about it. So I cannot speak on that. They need to also find out from the side of whatever happened.
Okay.
Like before, after investigation, if there's a link, then charges can be prepared against it.
Meanwhile, the rescued chief and his subjects are on admission at the Effiong-Kwanta Regional Hospital, where they are currently receiving treatment. Still live on Joy News today, we move to other stories now, and contractors of the LACMA road have started an upgrade of the stretch, which residents say has caused miscarriage, respiratory disease and discomfort. This comes on the back of the announcement by Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah that a new contractor was mobilizing to the site. Here's Maxwell Agbagba reporting on what he found when he visited the LACMA road.
Time now, they saw the roller here, they saw some of the earth moving machines, the grader and others here, but they had not seen any action until Joy News came into the picture and then held one of the biggest morning shows here on the LACMA road. Let's speak to some of the residents here to find out from them what exactly they make of this. I have the president here with me, Emmanuel Metonunu.
Yeah.
Okay, and then another resident here.
Senanu Hache.
Okay. Emmanuel is actually the president of the Residents Association. Can you tell me, when exactly did you see some, work actually happen, some real work, I should say?
Yeah, thank you very much. After the multimedia, Joy, Adum, they all came here. I think a few days after, we noticed hard calls that they've dammed the bitumen on the road over here. And then I think that it's a step in the right direction because the residents, let me go back a level, from January, I think they held a first demonstration around the Agbliza electoral area, at Agbliza taxi rank. And after that first one, when the MP came, they signed a contract somewhere in March. The contractor came on site, but then he came to set up his site settlement, but he didn't come on site. There was no machine, nothing on the site. Okay. The second demonstration was on the 24th of June when the MP came. And after the 24th of June, then multimedia, a lot of awareness, multimedia, a lot of media houses started trooping in. After the media house started trooping in, then this thing was done. But then all successive MPs in Lejakuku here have contributed their quota to the construction of this road. It's a very big project. It started from 2003 when President Kufuor came to cut the sword for the construction of this road. And it was one lane. And then later was expanded to a 2-lane, so they had to pay compensation and demolish some of the houses which were on the road. Yeah. That was done in 2010. Somewhere in 2013, that's when we saw real work being done. When you look at the road carefully, you look at the size of the road, you look at the drainages on the road, you look at the relocation of the high tension, relocation of the pipelines, and even the leveling of the road. It was just left with the tying of the road. And all this was done during the era of the former MP, Honorable Benita Seno Kitidua.
This is the road 2 or 3 years back. You can't even wear white. Even as yesterday, I was coming from church when I saw that this stones corridors were put here.
I made a terrible mistake by wearing white today.
Yeah, you made a mistake, but thank God the road is being fixed. Yeah. But we thank the Residents Association, particularly the boys who live around Agbliza. They took it themselves when they blocked the road that no car is going to pass and no business is going to take place at the place till the road is fixed. It has to take the MP, the residents president over here to come and calm down the situation. Other than that, the road will not be fixed at all. Let me say we thank God because this leads to a major hospital over here, and we see prominent people who are sick and who are being rushed by ambulance died on the road to the hospital. A few weeks ago, a pregnant woman delivered in a taxi. And let me tell you that our taxis are just like a pig because you can't wash them and you can't bath them. Because of the nature of the road, the taxis are so bad that even if you wear white, you can't even sit in a taxi. And look at a pregnant woman giving birth in a taxi. A taxi that you can be in and you are seeing the ground just in front of you.
Let's now hear from Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah explaining why the project stalled.
Now, a new contractor, MSDSR Holdings Incorporated of Dubai, has made a commercial offer to the ministry to provide funding for this and some other projects. And the proposal seeks to source funds from the Development Bank of Belarus and the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development to complete that and other projects. A term sheet has been forwarded from the Roads and Highways Ministry to Finance, which is now to be sent to Cabinet and Parliament for the necessary approvals, because this will then end up being an international financial transaction. An application was made by the ministry to the Public Procurement Authority to allow for single sourcing of this to DSR Holdings Incorporated to undertake the works. And an approval letter has now been received from the PPA dated the 20th of June 2019 to allow for sole sourcing to the contractor subject to the necessary approvals. And this approval is necessary to ensure that adequate funds are made available for works. Now, DSR Holdings, in consultation with the ministry, has mobilized and is heading to site for all the ongoing works that has been going on so far. So there's a chronology of what has been going on so far. I'll share copies with you so that as you also, update your listeners and your viewers, you can update them on the progress of work and the challenges that have come up.
From one road project to another, and many pedestrians still cross the dangerous Adenta-Medina highway despite violent protests 8 months ago, which led to the construction of some footbridges along the stretch. On November 8, 2018, the residents poured onto the streets after a female student of the West Africa Senior High School WAS was killed in a hit-and-run accident. It was one of the many such knockdowns which the residents blamed on the unavailability of proper crossing aids, mainly footbridges. But as Joy News' Komla Adom reports, some pedestrians continued to defy orders of security stewards and cross the road dangerously, with just a few using the footbridges.
The anger of a people triggered by a pedestrian knockdown on a highway notorious for road accidents. The November 2018 violent demonstration will forever be remembered by many as the protesters blocked the road, burned tires and clashed with police as they showed anger at the unavailability of footbridges and other crossing aids. Many had been knocked down, some of them being killed, but the death of a WAS student was one too many for the residents.
I was knocked down some time ago. They should fix the bridges for us.
My brother was knocked down at the same filling station. Look at this thing. When was it started? Until now, nothing is being done about it.
It was a collective reminder to a nation and a people determined to change a negative narrative that never again should anyone be killed by a speeding vehicle on the stretch. 6 of the abandoned footbridges will be awarded to contractors to complete work and fix ancillary parts for pedestrian use. Today, 4 of the 6 footbridges have been completed and open for pedestrian use. But Joy News has witnessed a distressing spectacle of people still crossing the road dangerously from one end to another.
It's been more than 20 minutes of observing the flow of traffic on this particular stretch of the Medina-Adentan highway. But it is surprising to know that I've counted as many as 15 individuals who have abandoned the footbridge and have dangerously crossed over from one side to the other side with traffic flowing on this particular stretch. And this is what has been happening here since this particular bridge was opened. From what commuters here tell me, they say the residents complain that the distance they have to cover from one side of the road to the other side is too long when they use the footbridge.
Kennedy and Ben are taxi drivers right in front of a taught to teen school at Adenta. They tell me why some of the pedestrians have abandoned the footbridge.
The pedestrians say the bridges are too long. It takes them longer to cross the road.
The police but the police over there, and yeah, they are almost to be overhead, from here. I could do no one ever normally
Some of the pedestrians fight police stewards who are stationed along the stretch to ensure the right thing is done.
Some argue and quarrel with the police officer stationed on the stretch. They then move away to cross dangerously.
The situation in front of the West Africa Senior High School is no different. What would it take to get these pedestrians to simply do the right thing? Ken and Ben have some suggestions.
This is a police phone.
I think the solution is to find some recalcitrant pedestrians and they must be arrested.
A
police reinforcement is required to deal with the problem.
Our cameras captured these individuals shamelessly running across the highway, even worse, talking on the mobile phone. It's time for some drastic action to be taken, lest the riots of November 8, which left several people injured and caught up in the crossfire, will be in vain, and government's investment.
Still up ahead in the bulletin, hashtag Defend Media Freedom. We tell you about that campaign, which commences later today on the Joy News channel, demanding a free media space for journalists and broadcasters. Also, Special Prosecutor Martin Amedu questions basis for the Police Criminal Investigations Department's report exonerating former Secretary to the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining of Corruption. Details after the break. Glad you stayed with us. This is still Joy News today. Now, private broadcasting stations in Ghana have launched a campaign urging Ghanaians to rise up and oppose government's plan to introduce conditional access controls as part of the country's digital migration program. In a public service broadcast airing on member stations, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association argues that such a technology will have an adverse effect on the fundamental rights of Ghanaians to access free-to-air digital TV. There's more in the following report.
Of delays, Ghana is expected to migrate its broadcasting from analog to digital later this year. It will lead to the provision of better signal quality, high-definition services, and an increase in the capacity of transmission networks. Giba says, whilst this is welcome news, government's approach to implementing it, it argues, will lead to stifling of citizens' fundamental rights to access radio and TV content.
The millions of digital TV sets already certified by the NCA, which have been purchased and installed at individual homes, offices, shops, stores, warehouses, and public places across the country, which are currently receiving digital TV programming, will abruptly stop receiving free-to-air digital TV unless access is enabled by the Ministry of Communications' chosen controller or operator through the opening of a conditional access encryption key. Even so, you can't receive free-to-air programs unless you acquire the ministry's prescribed CA control decoder in addition.
In a campaign video, Giba says other countries implementing the ITU-inspired broadcasting switch did not include a requirement for access control and urge Ghanaians to wake up and reject it.
Reject conditional access for free-to-air TV now. We are all excited for TV to go digital. Let's make sure we get it right. Free-to-air TV broadcasting must remain free as legally classified and authorized by the NCA.
But why should you be concerned?
It is your right, our right, to choose what programs or channels to watch. Free-to-air broadcasting through an intermediary content blocking mechanism such as the CA will make mass media communication vulnerable.
Giba says Ghanaians should only embrace what is good for us as a people and in accord with the law.
Well, later today, Joy News will begin a campaign to demand a freer media space, a society in which journalists, media organizations, and other players are able to practice without fear or favor. Here's my colleague Raymond Akwa on the rationale behind the campaign.
Over the period, let's start from 1992. We moved in 1991 after the repeal of the newspaper licensing laws. We moved into a space where we were allowing more people to set up their own private enterprise and all of that, and making sure that people can speak their minds without inhibitions or looking over their shoulder. What has happened over the period, and just around 2000, we consistently scored very high on the freedom houses, what they call it, freedom ranking and press freedom ranking, which got us to be in the category of a free media society, that is Ghana. Just around 2015, 2016, we moved from being totally free to partially free or partly free. It shows you that the red flags started showing at the time, that there are incidents, specific ones, that suggested that the people who practice in this space, unlike doctors, unlike nurses, they have peculiar challenges that prevents them from doing the work that they ought to do fully. So let me take just February 2017 to just around June of this particular year. There were 41 specific violations of the rights of media people.
In what forms?
Specifically, there was a killing. We know that. We know Ahmed Swali's own happened. And the only other time we've had a cinema was like 4 or 5 years ago. So there was a killing. There were 21 physical attacks. Physical attacks on journalists who go about having to record, having to go cover an event, and then are subjected to attacks first by military officers, by police officers, and even within our own setup here, we can list the people, not only the reporters, but also cameramen who work here who have been subjected to these kind of attacks. There's also been attacks on media houses as institutions. And for a very long time, since the repeal of our laws and all of that, we've not had one phenomenon, Ryan said again, there's been closures of radio stations, perceivably in opposition thinking form of radio stations. All of these are serious red flags that ought to be identified, dealt with, so that this important practice that is guaranteed by the Constitution, Article 164, doesn't get to be trampled on, doesn't get to be played like one small issue, so that it becomes a bigger problem. Now, states that have actually lost the freedom of media started off not just one night.
The launch of that campaign takes place live on The Pulse at 3 p.m. on the Joy News channel. You can join the conversation now on social media using the hashtag Defend Media Freedom. Still live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Daz, and our special prosecutor, Martin Amidu, is questioning the basis of the Police Criminal Investigations Department's report exonerating former secretary to the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining of corruption. The police CI declared Charles Bissew after it concluded its 4-month investigation into Tiger IPI's allegations against the former presidential staffer. Bissew, who was accused by undercover journalist Anas Armio Anas and his Tiger IPI team of circumventing the law to grant mining license to all resource enterprise to engage in small-scale mining, while a ban on same was in force. Anas and his team had earlier petitioned the Special Prosecutor's Office for the matter to be investigated. Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu, who has been speaking on Accra-based City FM, says the matter is already being investigated by his team and does not understand why the CID is also into it after he earlier raised concerns over duplication of efforts.
And this is not the first time this type of obstruction, which I have referred to in my write-up, is happening. You know, people choose to interfere with my corruption investigations when they think it doesn't suit them. But we have to do a professional work impartially. I have been brought here to do a job, and that's what I'm going to do. So the answer is that we are investigating. The two of them are on bail. So Mr. Bissew is a public officer because he's also a presidential aide. The other one is a politically exposed person. The police doesn't deal with politically exposed persons. I deal with them. The statement he made won't come to me until the investigation is complete and the docket is forwarded. But I have the statements from both complainants and the suspects. So I'll be in a position to make a decision fairly and impartially. I'm saying that they are cooperating. And when I wrote to the chief of staff to release him, she didn't release him. And the police know that I have told them they can't do it. And the Minister of Interior knows that I've told him that for them to direct police to do it, it's a political decision. If I've been set up to investigate with that political direction, why will politicians send a case to the police when they know I'm supposed to do it? Handle it? We don't want to set up an office of special prosecutor. We don't. The point is, as far as I'm concerned, the police has no jurisdiction in the matter. And no ministers can refer cases which belong to me to them. The president says he was appointing me so that there won't be political interference. So why will a minister bypass me and refer the case to the police? I don't investigate. My investigators will handle it when they are ready. They will give the dockets up to us as prosecutors. We will assess it and we will make a decision. And then I will see who will stop me.
More on that story in later bulletins. Now, drinking water that tastes bitter, paying exorbitant prices for water, and the risk of waterborne diseases. Those are just a few of the harsh living realities that residents of Aminapa in the Ada East region, of the Greater Accra region have to deal with daily. They depend mostly on rainwater for all their domestic chores and sometimes on the community stream if they are lucky. As part of our Safe Water project, Joy News' Henry Kwesibedu visited the community and now reports.
Water is unclean. Anytime my children drink the water, it upsets their stomachs, accompanied with diarrhea.
At Aminapa, this water source is a lifesaver. A colored, unclean, and mostly unreliable bitter source of water. But to get even a cup here is a real struggle.
The water here flows occasionally. Sometimes it flows once in 2 or 3 months.
Samuel Tay Gaduga is head teacher of the only school in the community. According to him, the situation is very pathetic as children fall ill and miss school after drinking from this source.
Using here is not hygienic, and even this rain water that you are talking about is only rain season that we get this one. And when the school children take it, it worries them a lot. At times they fall sick in the school, and we have to invite the parents to come and send them to hospital. The road to the hospital too is very bad.
Every household here has about 4 of these yellow 25-liter gallons for storing water. Helen Donu has 3 children. She pays for every gallon of water, which can barely take care of her many domestic chores.
We travel several distances to fetch other sources of water, which is also unclean. To get potable water, we pay exorbitant prices to tricycle operators. I buy a gallon for 2 Ghana cedis and about 50 Ghana cedis in a month. 50 Ghana krana and sumiti.
Tricycles supply water to residents here and other villages. For the drivers, this is good business. Patrick Amano is the only operator in the Aminapa area.
1 gallon is 2 cedi. You fetch it 50 pesos at the Togloku, then you come and sell it 2 cedi, which means 1 cedi 50 pesos is the charge. I can get like 150 Ghana cedis, which is 1.5. I favor them. Sometime I'll fetch it for you, then you give me a time, then you get money to pay me. It's not difficult for me, but it's difficult for the person that are buying. But for me, that is good for me because I'm getting something. But the people who are paying the money, they are facing problems. Sometimes it rains small. It makes the road so mud, and I can't walk there. So when I can't walk there, I'll be in the house, and there is no water. Maybe you go for somebody who has some small water, then he give you, and you use it for some time. When I get that, I can go there before you get your own.
Okay, so how many trips do you go in a day?
I go like 6 times a day.
The Sustainable Development Goals recognize access to clean water as a basic human need. And help is on the way for residents in communities like Aminapa, because Prosecutor Ghana Limited, as part of activities to climax its 20th anniversary, cut salt for the construction of a borehole for residents. Management of the company says this is one of 20 boreholes which will be constructed for other deprived communities across the country.
A brand being existent in Ghana for 20 years, we thought it's wise to give back to the community. As I always say, we are not just here to do business, but we're also here to give back to the society where the society form an integral part of the brand that we are building. Yes. So Kabbalah 20, this is one of our initiatives to give back to the society by giving 20 boreholes to the 10 regions in Ghana. And this is the first place that we've chosen to offer our...
Chief of Aminapa, Nene Amate Kole, who was grateful for the kind gesture, wants management of Prosecutor Ghana Limited to hurriedly construct the borehole to ease the plight of its people.
The water there, we went to Alavanyo to fetch the water before drinking or bathing. From here to Alavanyo is about 2 bars before you go fetch the water. So with the suffer, sometimes from 3 o'clock evening, we will move for Alavanyo before you fetch the water, you come. By 6:30, you move from here to Pute, to the school. So with the suffer, I know be small. The cowbell, now they bring the some plenty come. So now if they do the hole for us, now they will be free. So everything will come good, everything will change. I will thank them so that they are grateful. God will help them to do the thing they say they do for us. God will help them to do for us.
For Joy News, Henry Kwesi Badu's report.
Still live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Daze. Coming up in business, construction of cocoa roads that have stalled to resume soon. We're here from Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma.
It is expected that over 3 billion cedis worth of cocoa roads are set to commence under the new program in the cocoa growing areas across the country.
Daryl Crown is coming soon.